Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, thousands of illegal online gambling sites likened to pogo hubs, while a group of PAGCOR licensed online gambling operators vowed to keep players safe from irresponsible gaming and financial distress. PlaySafe Alliance spokesman Mike Defensor, also president of World Platinum Technologies, joins us live. And for a market's view on the issue and more, Ras Mercado of China Bank Securities. The Development Budget Coordination Committee says there is a need to search for more revenue sources without imposing new taxes or debts. And a bill that will mandate 14-month pay for workers may be filed in the House of Representatives soon, with a party list representative maintaining it will not hurt small businesses. The nearly 12,000 illegal online gambling sites have similar operations with pogo hubs, according to the head of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. In an interview on The Big Story, CICC Deputy Executive Director Aboy Paraiso said Senator Erwin Tulfo's estimated figure is more or less accurate. According to him, the popular vice has become parallel with Philippine offshore gaming operators, which are banned since the beginning of the year.
Most of the operations are very similar and very reminiscent of the Pogo operations, although the bettors, when you talk about Pogos, are located outside the country. Most of them are international criminal syndicates. Like I mentioned, some of them are Chinese nationals. We see Malaysian nationals. So these are, again, it's hard to map out because of they take advantage of this jurisdictional challenge when it comes to their operations.
Senator Mig Zubiri, an ardent advocate of banning online gambling, said the battle to curb the growing addiction is challenging with the presence of politicians and billionaires. He wants to know if any of them are involved in the vice's proliferation. But for Joey Rojas, president of Eagle Equities Inc., the gross gaming revenues that PAGCOR earns from e-gambling platforms present a delicate balancing act. Here's what he told us on this program.
I looked at the Q1 statistics of PAGCOR. They have about close to 40, almost 50 billion in GGR through online gaming. BIR collects 5% directly from the 50 billion. So that's a lot of money. I hope they can. Government can do without it if you go into a total ban. But I don't think so.
As scrutiny over online gambling picks up steam, at least 21 PAGCOR licensed online gambling operators recently banded together to form a PlaySafe Alliance. Founding members, which include the Philippines' biggest gaming brands such as DigiPlus Interactive Corp, represent a united front to promoting responsible gaming, ensuring regulatory compliance, and protecting Filipino players amid concerns over addiction and financial distress. With us now for more is PlaySafe Alliance spokesman Mike Defensor. The former congressman is also president of PAGCOR licensed World Platinum Technologies, Inc. Good to see you, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Thank you for this opportunity to explain our people the current situation on online gaming.
Yeah, you know, it's been 36 hours or so since the delinking
Yes.
of the e-wallets
Yes.
from the online gaming sites.
Yes.
I'm wondering what the participation's been like, user participation in online gambling sites without the use of e-wallets, banks, and other supervised institutions, as directed by the Bangko Sentral.
Yes, well, first of all, from the sources I've heard, the revenues at GGR have gone down. I've not yet ascertained this, but this is the situation now. And you have to understand, if you are in the online wallet, like PayMaya or GCash, you are actually legal. And in those payment platform wallets, there's already a KYC. If my child will open it up, they cannot. They cannot go and play on online gaming platforms. And then aside from that, the legal online gaming platforms have their own KYC being regulated and being monitored by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the online payment platforms themselves, and also of the PAGCOR. So, when people say or they talk, ban online gaming, I think they failed to understand that the situation right now, PAGCOR would say it's 60-40. 60% illegal, 40% legal. But for me, it's worse than that because I've seen some data, 68% are actually illegal. If you check your Facebook right now, because that's where they do the illegal operations, most of the social media, and you search for online gaming, gambling, online casino, or scatter, which is the popular game, immediately you would have 20 sites, and maybe only 2 would be legal. Most of them are illegal, not from the Philippines. They're outside, targeting the Philippines, and this is money going out of the country. One of the things that came out during the Senate hearing, and I was very happy in the course of the hearings, because I think many people do not understand. They said, you don't have KYC. That's not true.
Well, let me pick up on the spirit of the delinking. It's to restrict access, to make it a little more difficult
Yes.
to want to play
That's right.
an online game.
Supposedly.
That might mean gambling your money away.
Yes.
So is the PlaySafe Alliance not in favor of the delinking of the e-wallets as a form of protection
No, I'm not.
to users?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I'm not for it. I think, again, it's a failure of understanding the situation. I can go right now. You can ask your child. You can ask anyone. They want to play in Facebook. There's no KYC. They put any amount. They don't ask for. You notice Senator Sherwin Gatchalian showed a video and said, "Oh, this is a no KYC, no age verification, no anything, no minimum amount." And then PAGCOR said, "Well, that's an illegal site. That's not licensed by us." And then he showed another a picture. He said, "Oh, this group," and they said, "Yeah, that's legal, and we will make sure that we will punish them and penalize them." So you see the difference. The illegals, they're all over, 70%. The legals were there, but if we have a mistake, we are punished. We pay taxes. We have workers. The illegals don't. The illegals are offshore. Wala silang manggagawa. They don't pay any taxes to PAGCOR. They don't contribute to anything. I saw your, before you mentioned earlier that the DBCC, the Budget Coordinating Council, wanted to raise more revenues. Actually, PAGCOR is the number 3 revenue generating agency. You have BIR, you have Customs, and you have PAGCOR. And in PAGCOR, the contribution of total is about 120 billion, majority of which is coming from the legal online gaming operators. So again, my request to the Senate, and I'm happy that Senator Erwin came out, Senator Mig Subiri saying about Indonesia, talking about Indonesia, he said, well, Indonesia is hitting everyone, and they're preventing online gaming. That's not true. Indonesia has a problem now. They have about 8 to 11 million people who are engaged in illegal gambling. They are losing $50 billion a year. Now, let's not go to Indonesia because Indonesia is a Muslim country. China, which is the strongest in terms of internet firewall protection and so on and so forth, they're losing about $150 billion a year. And billions, hundreds of millions of Chinese are involved in illegal gaming. The problem with that is you don't monitor. You don't know what's happening.
There's nothing really stopping the legal operators from continuing to get the gross gaming revenues that you just made a mention of by having the user just go straight to your website, the legal ones,
Yes.
to gamble. So in effect, this friction, this restriction, really just redirects the player to the legal site.
In a way, you're correct. It's not stopping them from playing. But I'm talking about conceptually, if the online payment platforms, and I would like all the legal online payment platforms to be in the online payment platforms like GCash and PayMaya, so that people will know these are the only legal ones. Ito lang yung mga legal, dito lang tayo maglaro. Why? If they play in Facebook, all of them will say this is legal. Sometimes they even use the PAGCOR. Sometimes they use our names. And when they go there and it's flagged and it's blocked, all of a sudden their money is lost. Some of them are scams. There's no age verification. Now, the thing with also having it in the online gaming platforms is that there's already an identification of who is doing the regulations, as you mentioned. For example, the KYC, are we doing it? Are we doing, later on, we would like self-regulation, the banning. These are the things that the reforms and regulations that we see in other countries.
Could you tell us more about the banning, self-regulation? Because if you're not in favor of the delinking, then what then is PlaySafe Alliance propagating to ensure that there will be no financial distress and there will be no addiction to online gambling in the Philippines?
Yes. Well, in the UK, what they did was they have some kind of algorithm to monitor each of the players. There's a self-reclusion, a self-banning. Like, for example, I'll put in my program, I'll pay 1 hour a day. I'll put in the program, I'll play 100,000 pesos a month. That's part of a self-regulation system. If, for example, like I've seen the victims in the hearings, and there is such a way that for them, like the mother, could tell us, the PAGCOR, or any of the online operations, ban my son or ban my husband. So this is technology, and we can do it. This is part of a system that we can do. But before we do any of this, the first thing that we have to address is the illegals. Because even if we fix the legal, no, they're saying kids can play. It's not us, you know. And I think they're getting it wrong that they have to first fix the fight against the illegals. If we bring it down to 5 to 10%, then fine. Now, all this regulation can be put in place.
Well, let's just pull up some of the measures that you wanted to institute. A PlaySafe Alliance. I just wanted to know what sort of a timeline you're looking at in terms of regulatory capture and all else.
As of now, we have the KYC and the age check. We have the the exclusion. We can do that through PAGCOR, and we've been doing that. And I think we have to campaign more on this so that people would know that they can have people banned, relatives banned, as in normal casinos. The consumer education publicity, PAGCOR already ordered, taking out in coordination with the Ads Council, that this should be also responsible advertisement of online gaming platforms. The addiction research report is already in place, and we're strengthening it further. What we have there is the campaign, and I think we really have to have a strong campaign against the unlicensed operators.
Just as a final point for the parents and guardians listening to us, what do you tell your kids? All of them grown up now, when they ask about online gambling.
Yes. Like any other vice, like smoking or drinking, you know, when they said in the Senate, people are dying. In 2023, 23,000 people died of alcoholism in the Philippines. So if you're saying that, then let's ban alcohol. So what I tell them is, you know, in anything, in any leisure, in any vice, you do it in moderation. You do it out of fun, not for hardcore gambling. Now, this is part of your right also if you want to play, if you want to watch a movie, if you want to drink, but all of this in moderation. Because in the end, there should be a balance in life, as well as a balance in society. It can't be a total ban. I believe that if it will be a total ban, then we just drive everyone else to the syndicates and to the criminals.
All right, we'll leave it there then. Thank you so much for the insights.
Thank you.
Mike Defensor of PlaySafe Alliance and the World Platinum Technologies, Inc. Well, it's becoming more challenging to manage the budget with a growing debt and fewer revenue sources. And that's based on figures represented by the Development Budget Coordination Committee in the first briefing for the 2026 National Expenditure Program. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto said previous administrations left the Marcos administration with 12.8 trillion pesos in debt. Now, that figure is relatively lower than our ASEAN neighbors, such as Indonesia and Thailand. Of the current 6.35 trillion peso budget, only 4.64 trillion is supported by government revenues, which means for every 17.4 billion pesos spent every day, about 4 billion comes from loans. Recto said the government is looking to shore up revenues by privatizing underutilized assets and collecting taxes more efficiently. But the briefing turned heated when Navota's Representative Toby Tiangco demanded a copy of the House General Appropriations Bill, or HGAP, for 2025, or the minutes of the meeting of the small committee tasked to compile amendments. In an interview with The Big Story, the independent House member said only one man can answer all the lingering questions on the 2025 budget.
It's clear that it seems, no? Kasi wala namang pinadala yung COMSEC na report. So it would seem na talagang ang makakasagot na lang ng mga questions tungkol sa 2025 is Congressman Saldico. kung walang report, walang minutes of the meeting, hindi naman pwedeng walang notes si Congressman Saldico, no? Kaya sana, siya na talaga ang dapat managot. Wala na ibang makakasagot nito eh.
The Makati Business Club, the country's premier business group, has sounded the alarm over flood control projects hounding the Marcoses administration. Executive Director Rafael Alfonso, or Apa Ongpin, told Storycon the business sector is concerned about the fat and the flood control budgets. He said big, reputable contractors do not even join biddings, calling the process very dirty.
Looking forward, we would like to see master plans for flood control that are open to the public, that are stated and very, very clear what the projects are about, right? And therefore, the bidding for these projects, I mean, it's supposed to be totally clear and open, but it should be a procurement process that attracts, the big contractors.
Ongpin also expressed disappointment over the Supreme Court's ruling on Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment case. The Makati Business Club, along with the Management Association of the Philippines and 2 other groups, has asked the court to reconsider. Ongpin warned the decision could deter investors seeking assurance that the rule of law prevails in the country.
I think it has been a disincentive to this particular impeachment issue has been a disincentive to people looking to invest in the country. That this is not just a concern for prospective foreign investors. This is a concern for big Filipino conglomerates and so on who need a rule of law, who need public accountability, because right now we're being shaken down. Our businesses are being shaken down by various government agencies.
A party list representative is willing to file a counterpart measure to mandate a 14-month pay among the private sector. Kamanggagawa Party List Representative Elisan Fernando told Sa Totoo Lang on 1PH that large businesses, which employ 70% of all workers, can manage the proposed additional benefits. Earlier, the Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto refiled his bill seeking for a 14-month pay on top of a 13-month pay. San Fernando says this measure will not hurt small businesses.
Deserve yan ng mga manggagawa. Hindi po labis yan, hindi po sobra yan. Actually, in all measures, kahit patungkol po sa taas sahod, dagdag benepisyo ng mga manggagawa, always included yung karapatan at kalagayan din naman ng mga maliit at maliitan, yung micro and small enterprises. That same protection can also be included when we discuss 14th month pay.
The president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry told this program yesterday that while the proposal is good, it needs a thorough study.
We're afraid that if we impose another 14th month on top of the 13th month that is already being given, it would be really very difficult for the micro enterprises and even for the small. But we don't want to be misunderstood as far as our stand is concerned. We are after the welfare of our workers.
You're watching Money Talks. Coming right up, the government sold over 500 billion pesos worth of treasury bonds, exceeding the target. And Ras Mercado of China Bank Securities joins us in a few minutes. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. U.S. markets finished Monday mixed ahead of earnings updates from major retailers and the Fed chair's speech later this week. The Nasdaq rose yesterday by less than 0.1%, while both the Dow and the S&P 500 were down by less than 1% each. Benchmark 10-year Treasury yields ticked up to 4.337%, and gold prices declined to $3,331 per troy ounce. Stock futures virtually unchanged, with the Dow trading higher in after hours and the S&P and the Nasdaq trading lower. As for Asian markets, all indexes are down in the first hour of trading this Tuesday. Australia's ASX 200 tumbles 0.6%, South Korea's Kospi slides 0.8%, and Japan's Nikkei 225 declines 0.4%. And a quick check on the Philippine market, see how we're doing. PSCI opening this Tuesday virtually unchanged at 6,288. Local stocks declined yesterday, Monday, by 0.4% over the lack of fresh catalysts, according to Regina Capital. The broader all-shares index tumbled by over 0.25%, with sectoral gauges a mixed bag. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today a tad weaker at 57.05 to the dollar. The peso swung back yesterday to 56.965 against the greenback. And the 10-year government bond yields virtually unchanged, settling at 6.010%. The government sold 500 billion pesos of retail treasury bonds, according to the Bureau of Treasury. National Treasurer Sharon Alamanza reported Monday the government raised 507 billion pesos for 5-year RTBs, 7 times the target of 30 billion, but short of the record high 584 billion pesos in February 2024. The Treasury offered RTBs in minimum denominations of 5,000 through banking platforms, including e-wallet app GCash. Almanza said the demand was driven by, quote, very good fundamentals and expectations that rates will continue to drop. And joining us this morning is Raz Mercado, Head of Research at China Bank Securities Corp. Good to see you again, Raz. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Cathy. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what do you make of gaming stocks in this environment of heightened security? You just heard a couple of moments ago Mike Defensor of PlaySafe Alliance and of the unlinking of the online gaming platforms from e-wallets.
I think first, just some context. I mean, over the past month or two, you've seen weakness in gaming stocks, and that's mainly driven by the regulatory uncertainty around that. And that's mainly because investors in general don't like uncertainty, right? So now that we're progressing towards a conversation, having the facts out, so there's less uncertainty, there are conversations to be had. That in itself is a step in the right direction in the sense that it eases that uncertainty, right? But of course, it remains up in the air what the degree of their regulation, how that's going to be. But certainly, I think what we're seeing is that brick and mortar companies like Bloomberry, for example, have seen a little bit less volatility relative to those that are purely in the online space, right? So I think moving forward, a bulk or a large part of the uncertainty has already been priced in. There is certainly some scope for some oversold rallies based on technicals, but overall, we see that investors will be very closely monitoring how regulations are going to pan out and will react accordingly.
And on top of that, the rebalancing, the PSCI rebalancing, I mean, the impact so far that those had on who's been in and out. I mean, Bloomberry is out and DigiPlus is in.
Yeah. So on Friday, that was effectively the last day you needed to have those stocks in if you're an index tracking fund, right? Of course, Bloomberry did see some weakness because you're expecting some selling pressure given the removal. But moving past that, you're seeing some interest in the sense that that overhang is gone, right? You did see some soft earnings from them, but given that, investors reacting to that, and then the overhang from the selling pressure given the index rebalancing, there was certainly some scope for recovery. I think we saw a bit of that yesterday, and that continued to be so in the near term, right? As investors kind of move past all of the negatives and kind of more closely digest what's there. Digi Plus did see buying interest late in the week, last week, given the inclusion, and I think it's still seeing some lingering buying appetite as well. But overall, in terms of these two stocks, I think what's going to be important is, again, what happens from a regulatory standpoint, and it's good that we're actually progressing towards kind of resolving the uncertainty here there.
Looking more broadly, before the Bangko Central's policy rate decision on August 28th, there's the Jackson Hole Symposium on Friday, where Fed Chair Jay Powell speaks. So what can we expect from that?
I think, well, the Jackson Hole speech has historically been sometimes a pivotal moment. I think when the U.S. was kind of battling inflation, that proved to be a market-moving event, right? But I think what investors and markets are looking forward to hearing is what will weigh more on investors' minds, right? You have the Fed that's data dependent, and yet you have two different sets of data that are important to them: inflation and then unemployment. Inflation is taking a bit higher, and then unemployment was unexpectedly soft, right? What will weigh more in policymakers' mind? I think that's what markets are gonna want to get out of that speech. In terms of rate cut expectations for the Fed, of course, those two data points kind of influence that. So it's oscillated, right? From between near zero cuts for the Fed sometime within the year, moved back to 2, and then 1, and then 3, and then back to 2, right? So it's really been markets reacting depending on what data comes out, and we expect that to remain the case up until the next Fed meeting, which is in September.
Yeah, and I hear that the bond traders are quite nervous going into Jackson Hole. Thank you so much, Ras Mercado, for your insights of China Bank Securities. Well, the Trade Department is hopeful of seeing sustained growth in the country's exports. This, even as U.S. reciprocal tariffs have already taken effect. Trade Secretary Cristina Roque said the DTI is urging exporters to diversify markets. Earlier this month, Philippine exports to the U.S. have been imposed a 19% tariff. With the U.S. considering a 100% duty on semiconductors, Roque said the Philippines is seeking an exemption, as chips remain a top export. She also said the government's exploring markets in Europe, South America, Japan, and Asia, and pursuing free trade deals with the European Union. Meanwhile, the country expects to sign the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the UAE this year. The Board of Investments is maintaining its 1.75 trillion peso target for approved investments this year, despite the imposition of U.S. tariffs. Trade Secretary and BOI Chair Cristina Roque said the agency will stick to the goal, with more investment missions lined up. If met, it would be the highest level ever this year, surpassing last year's record of 1.62 trillion pesos. However, data from the PSA showed BOI-approved investments fell 60% in the first half, down to 382 billion from 955 billion pesos year on year. Roque said this was because of the uncertainty surrounding U.S. reciprocal tariffs. The Finance Department expects government revenues to surpass the 7 trillion pesos by 2030, citing sustained growth and stronger fiscal performance. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto said revenues are projected at 7.13 trillion, with the BIR contributing over 5 trillion and customs at 1.28 trillion pesos. From 2026 to 2028, collections are seen growing 10% annually, bringing revenues to nearly 6 trillion by the end of President Marcos's term, and cutting the deficit to 1.55 trillion pesos. This year, the government expects a deficit of 1.56 trillion pesos, with spending outpacing tax and non-tax revenues. The Asian Development Bank has named Andrew Jeffries as its new country director for the Philippines. Jeffries will oversee ADB operations in the country, which currently has an active portfolio of around $13 billion. He will implement ADB's Country Partnership Strategy 2024 to 2029 and coordinate with the government, private sector, and development partners. Prior to this role, Jeffries served as ADB advisor for energy transition mechanisms and led a region-wide energy initiative. He also held the position of ADB Country Director for Vietnam from 2020 to 2023, overseeing all operations there. And And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. here on One News. Have a great day ahead.